has been a week to remember in the Twin Cities. The death of George Floyd while in the custody of Minneapolis police sent ripples through every community, including the northwest suburbs. Here is a look at what we saw in this area during the first week of June 2020.
My heart is broken. I'm devastated. This is hard for our community.
Deep pain lies beneath Reverend T. Michael Rock in the aftermath of George Floyd's death.
We have been told that there's possible elements that are causing destruction in churches in this area.
Rock says members of his congregation at Parkway United Church of Christ have been staying overnight and keeping lights on to deter damages.
We operate as a sanctuary congregation for undocumented folks. We operate as a homeless shelter with families moving forward. And so we want to make sure the building is there so we can do our ministry.
In each bag, they're ready to go.
For other local residents,
with a knife in it.
They're spreading love through home-baked pies.
Certainly people who are cleaning up. There are people out there who are cleaning up and working hard, and we want to get some pies to some of them too. We just want to make sure that justice is done, but we want people to also know that we're all human beings, and we should all be able to live together.
In the morning, all four of us were down at 38th in Chicago to have them experience the pain, the grief, but also the unity.
What do we want?
Justice!
What do we want it?
Now!
This intersection is now sacred ground, and the walkers brought their kids there on Sunday. They wanted them to see the exact spot where Floyd tragically died because a cop pressed his knee against his neck for almost 9 minutes.
It was peaceful there, actually. It was peaceful there. People were kind and people were talking and it was sacred.
We do want to see all the officers charged because they all played a role in that process.
For Michael Walker, seeing Ground Zero struck a powerful and personal chord. Many African-American males know they could be the next George Floyd.
As a black man, I live with that reality every single day.
That was a grave injustice to that man and to his family and to the community.
Local city leaders angered and concerned.
It was not a police tactic. It was murder.
As they grapple with what happened last week to George Floyd.
On that day, we all witnessed what people of color, particularly black men, experience all the time, all too often at the hands of police.
Both mayors and police chiefs from the Brooklands address community questions on the outrage.
Crystal Police Chief Stephanie Revering sent out this YouTube message this morning to residents, offering up her condolences to the family of George Floyd.
I can't even imagine what his family is going through, and I'm horrified at the fact that this happened.
The chief says over the next few weeks, she will review department protocols.
I want to see if we need to add any policies or make any additions to what it is that we already have.
When the riots broke out over the death of George Floyd,
we couldn't do nothing because all of this really matters.
Bill and Cara realized how they could go about giving back.
We first, kind of gathered information from the drives that were happening as to what was needed.
On Saturday, they put out a call to friends, neighbors, and Robbinsdale residents for food and other supplies. Word spread fast.
It was like open the floodgates. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Over the course of 2 days, they collected enough supplies to fill an entire trailer. All told, they estimate that people donated about 5,000 pounds of food and other items. They spread those donations out to PRISM and various supply drives in hard-hit areas of Minneapolis and St. Paul.
We love them so much, and they're our neighbors, they're our community, and this small thing that we did was the least we could do.
It's extremely devastating. The community depends on having these stores and these facilities open, and they're closed down now.
Shingle Creek Crossing is a vertical boardwalk. Recent looting and vandalism has been crushing for business.
Because there's nothing open.
Lorraine Sullivan lives close to Ground Zero, where George Floyd was killed by a Minneapolis police officer.
But understand, the protest is for, but the rest of this is unnecessary.
It's a chant that's reverberated throughout the world over the past week and a half. Yet this march, in honor of the man who died while being detained by Minneapolis police on Memorial Day, isn't taking place on city streets in an urban environment, but rather in a park in the western suburb of Plymouth.
I'm a little overwhelmed.
Jessica Campos organized this walk for George Floyd, in large part so that children like her 4-year-old daughter can better understand what's happening.
I know that there's a lot of things happening in Minneapolis, but it is nice to have Robbinsdale doing their own part too. I felt the presence of my students and my students of color. I felt the presence of all the voices of the Black people that have also suffered everything that has happened for over 400 years. And we're not just here for George Floyd, but every other death that has happened due to police brutality and racism.
Find more local news stories at ccxmedia.org and follow us on social media.